Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. So for this one we are going to kind of kick off the next chapter in the channel's history, if you like. So if you are a returning subscriber you might remember. If you're not, well, what's happened is basically I'm normally based in Sweden, but I'm taking a little bit of a break here in Durham in England to do my science teacher training over the next couple of months before I go back to Sweden, probably in July or August of 2018. And for my first review that I'm filming in England, I've actually got a beer that I'm really quite excited about. So for this one, this was a beer that I was sent by my good friend Craig at Kent Beer Reviews. Make sure you check out his channel. I'll put the link in the description below, of course. And this is from his local brewery. So for this one, we're going to go to the Gadds Ramsgate Brewery and we're having a taste of their Imperial Russian Stout. So this one comes in at 10% ABV. As the name suggests, it's a Russian Imperial Stout. And this one's from 2014. I think Craig was sitting on a few bottles of this and he sent one to me when I was in Lund in Sweden. And he also sent out one to my friend Peter, the clueless drinker, who at the time was based in Regensburg in Germany. And Peter really enjoyed this beer. I've not watched his review on purpose, of course, so I can kind of find out for myself, but make sure you check out his review as well. And I think Craig has actually reviewed this beer and is going to do a couple more reviews of it, because as I say, I think he's got a few different bottles. But a huge thank you to Craig for making this review possible, and it is always cool to try your fellow beer tuber's beer. And like I say, make sure you check out his channel if you haven't already, and do check out Peter at the Clueless Drinker as well. So anyway, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from the Gadds Ramsgate Brewery. It's the very first time I'm trying one of their beers as well. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beer reviews, and that's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of your other favourite beers and breweries. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, of course. So anyway, to tell you very briefly about the Gadds Ramsgate Brewery. So the Gadds Ramsgate Brewery were founded back in 2002 by Eddie Gadd, who's apparently been brewing since the early 1990s. I'm sure the article that I read said it was 1993 that he started brewing. And their first brewery was just a very small one, a kind of sort of industrial shed, if you like. But over the first couple of years, they basically started selling their beer to pubs and just wanted to get their name out there and build a customer base. But eventually they were able to move in 2006, and they're now based up on the Pisons Road Industrial Estate, which is near Broadstairs, a little bit to the northeast of Ramsgate itself. But Eddie's a big fan of the kind of traditional Kentish ales, and a number of their beers are actually like that. Their mainstay beers, if you like, are mainly these kind of traditional English real ales, but recently they've been beginning to expand into American style IPAs, using New Zealand hops and doing all these sorts of things. Eddie does say though that his favourite hop is the Kent Golding, or the East Kent Golding, if you like, and that probably is the one that you find most commonly in these kind of English real ales. Actually, it's got a really quite distinctive kind of floral character, a herbal floral quality to it. Actually, I'm not such a big fan of English hops when it comes to lighter beers, but see, in the dark beers like the porters and the milds, and some of the bitters can be quite nice actually, and the Imperial stouts like this can be really lovely with these English hops. So English hops for me really go well when it comes to these dark beers. But as I said, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. There wasn't too much information available on these guys actually, but do check out their website in the description below and keep an eye on them on Facebook and stuff like that. They have got their regular range of beers are all numbered, and those are the ones that you're most likely to find in pubs from what I've heard. So yeah, that's all you need to know about these guys just now. Let's actually get on it to the tasting of this beer itself. So on the side here, it does tell you a little bit about the beer. It says here, deep, dark and mysterious, Gadds Imperial Russian Stout is brewed and bottled by Gadds at their Ramsgate Brewery on the Isle of Thanet, playground of the oligarchs. So yeah, and you can see there's the Russian eagles on the artwork. I'm just checking that you can see that on the camera control, but you can see that nice Russian eagle. I do really like the artwork on this one. There you can see, as I was mentioning, this is the 2014 edition, and you can see the Gadds Brewery Ramsgate symbol there, and I think it says here, you can see made with British hops actually as well, and that Ramsgate, the Gadds Ramsgate symbol, is of course on the bottle cap of this one too. But yeah, it looks really nice. Number 2, or best before 2020, I believe it says here, so, or best before 2035, so you really could sit on this beer for about 20 years or something like that. But yeah, really nice looking beer, this one, and as I mentioned to you, a huge thank you to Craig for making this review possible. So without further ado then, let's get it out and get on with the tasting then. Yeah. So So nice smoky opening there, and we'll get it out and into the glass and see how we get on. But look at that, just look at that beer. That's thick as anything. Yeah, so we'll sugar up the last little bit and get it out. There you are. That looks really, really nice actually. So as you'd expect from a kind of Russian Imperial Stout, this one's poured a really kind of dark ebony rosewood colour. There's about a half finger of a frothy, dark, chocolatey, I'd say yeah, leathery tan head that's coming out on this one. Quite a few big bubbles on this, just sticking towards the side of the glass. Quite a few wee ones going up towards the bottom of the head as well. But overall, you know, it looks pretty much like you'd expect, and you get a big whiff of a kind of roasty chocolate and brown sugar note coming out of this one. You can smell some of that kind of red fruity ester out of the beer too, but overall looks exactly as you'd expect from a Russian Imperial Stout. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and see how we get on. Oh, that smells great. That smells really, really nice. When you sugar the beer up, you start to get a little bit more of that nice kind of roasty, malty base to it. This one to me is actually is smelling really quite sweet. It's got a lot of dark high cocoa chocolate coming out of this. You can smell a little bit of that roasted black malt backbone just underneath it, but really it's leaning towards the sweet side of things. There's a lot of treacle coming out of this. You can really smell that dark, toasty brown sugar quality coming out of the beer. Definitely more of a sweet Russian Imperial Stout than some of the smoky ones and roasty ones that I've come across before. Definitely leaning towards that sweet side of things. But there's a lot of red fruit in here as well. You can smell a little bit of the earthiness from the hops right enough. You can pick up a little bit of that at the back end of the nose, but the nice red fruity character of this one comes out as well. So I'd say the fruity character on this one, it smells to me more like a kind of raisiny sort of plum type of thing, but you can only pick up so much of that. You'll get a lot more of it out in the flavour. But overall, in terms of the aroma, this beer really is leaning towards the kind of sweet, caramelly, treacly and sort of chocolatey malts. It's got a really lovely high cocoa dark chocolate coming out of this one. It's really, really nice. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you actually get stuck into it. But this one smells absolutely lovely. It really, just as if you let it settle down, when you sugar it up you start to get more of the sweetness out of it. But when you let it settle you can pick up an almost kind of woody, nutty character to it as well. And you pick up a wee bit more of that roasted black malt backbone that I was talking about. But it smells like an absolutely lovely beer. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this. So yeah, this one's the Imperial Russian Stout from the Gadds Ramsgate Brewery. My friend Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, his local brewery. A huge thank you to him for sending me this beer. And do make sure you check out Peter the Clueless Drinker's review and Craig's review of it as well. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte. Yeah, that's pretty good actually, I have to say. Really quite nice. It's actually, when I was smelling the aroma of this one, I thought it was actually going to be quite a sweet one, but it's really well balanced. The roasty kind of black malt backbone of this really starts to push its way out. But I'm sure we'll see how we get on as we go through it, because the flavour can change quite a wee bit. But yeah, that's a really damn good beer. I'm glad that I'm getting to try this one. I would have been interested to try it when it was fresh and just see how it aged, but you know, as I say, I wanted to review this beer as my first one in England since it was given to me by one of my fellow beer tubers who is from England, of course. But that's really good. Lovely, lovely beer. So yeah, I'd say it starts off quite sweet, this one, but as I was saying, you really start to get some of these roasted black malt characters out of it, and the aftertaste, it's really dominated a little bit by that roasted black malt backbone, but it's not too punchy, if that makes sense. It's just got a nice kind of smoothness to it. This beer just goes together really quite well. And it's got a lovely mouthfeel as well. You know, a lot of these beers, the bottle conditioned ones, sometimes they can just be a little bit too carbonated, but this one is really silky. It's almost got a little bit of that kind of pool cast quality to it, which is really quite interesting. It'd be quite dangerous to have this one on any kind of tap, of course, at 10%, but it hides the alcohol very well. You do get a wee bit of warmth from it in here, but overall, you know, the mouthfeel for this one is perfect. This is probably one of the best Russian Imperial Stouts have had in terms of the mouthfeel, actually. And it does pretty damn well in terms of the flavour. So yeah, for this one, as I was saying, you can feel that roasted black malt backbone in there, but it starts off very, very smooth. There's a lot of chocolate to this one. You can feel some of that really dark treacle character coming out of it as well. And as the flavour progresses, you've seen how long it was since I took a sip of this one. You do start to get a little bit of a woody, kind of a nutty character coming out of it, and you can feel just that kind of burnt charredness, that kind of, I wouldn't say it's cherry right enough, it's probably more of that roasted black malt character coming out of this one. But it's a lovely, lovely beer, this. As you'd expect from the hops, it's really, really smooth. You can feel it probably is Kent Goldings. Maybe I don't think there's Fugels in this one. It doesn't quite have the ashy character that you'd expect of Fugels, actually. But with this one, you can really feel that nice earthy character. On the back corners of the palate, you can feel that quite dark, earthy note. And then as you come further forward, you can feel it becomes, some of the earthiness lingers there, but it does become a little bit more herbal. And then round the front curve of the palate, you can pick up just a little bit of that grassy character there. The hops actually go really, really quite well with this one, and I'm pretty sure that it's Goldings in this one rather than the Fugel hop. The Fugel hop is another English hop that's absolutely amazing when you use it in dark beers like that. It's not very good in light ales and bitters and things like that, but in the darker beers like stouts, mild porters, it can be really, really nice. But yeah, that's a really quite nice beer. I like how it all goes together. It's just really, really well done. I mean, you've got this, it's got a lot of complexity. As I say, it's the chocolate and the dark treacle that comes out for me. It really leans towards that kind of chocolatey note a bit. There is a wee bit of an almost kind of brown bready character. It does have a little bit of thickness on the middle of the palate, which is quite nice. But then it comes out with these kind of woody flavours that are almost a little bit charred, if you like, but that it does progress to be more of a roasted kind of black malt backbone there. And as you kind of go through this beer, that your mouth sort of adjusts to that roasted black backbone, and the beer just smooths out in a really, really kind of lovely way. I just like how this one goes together, and that's probably the aging that does that. Probably in the early days of this beer, it might have been a little bit more bitter in terms of the earthiness. And you can see how that would build a good bridge with that kind of roasted black malt backbone that the beer has. A bit of a tongue twister, that. And of course, it's just because I haven't filmed for a wee while, but this is really, really nice. And you can feel, as I say, just a little bit of that alcohol warmth. In terms of the fruitiness of this beer, I'd say it's quite a kind of candied red fruit that comes out of this one. Initially, you get a little bit of sharpness, almost like a kind of raisin or sultana sharpness out of the beer. Probably more raisins and maybe even a little bit of a kind of figgy or plummy note. But I would say it's more of a kind of candied red fruit ester that comes out of this one. Yeah. Definitely more of a candied kind of red fruity character, a wee bit of plum and just a wee tiny bit initially of that raisin sharpness. But this is a really, really damn good beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, and I do look forward to Craig's reviews of these ones that he's aging. I think he said he wanted to keep one until 2035 when the beer goes out of date, but this is a damn good beer as it stands just now. So if you have one of these and you decide to open it up, then you will get something pretty special. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I'd say this one is pretty full-bodied, to be honest. As I say, I think this is one of my favourite Russian Imperial Stouts I've come across in terms of mouthfeel. It's a really oily mouthfeel they're getting from this one, but it does have a kind of almost silky quality to it. It would be, this one, you could actually mistake it for being one of these kind of pool cask beers if you were tasting it blind. Of course, you know, with the alcohol content and all that, but just ignore that. In terms of the actual feel of the beer, it could have a little bit of that. It does have a little bit of that kind of pool cask quality to it. It's really oily, like I said. The carbonation's very, very smooth. There's a good mix of bitterness in this one. With the malt base, you've got a good balance between the bitterness from the black malts and the sweetness of the chocolate malts and the caramel malts and the other things that are in there. The hoppiness, there is a wee bit of bitterness on the earthy side of things, but other than that, the herbal character is more smooth, and you do have just a little touch of a kind of juicy, fruity character to the beer as well. But overall, I think it finds a good balance between the bitterness and the sweetness. But overall, you know, I keep saying that word, it's a really, really lovely beer, this, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So to Craig, a huge thank you for sending me this beer. I can see why he wanted me to try it, and it's really pretty damn good. So hopefully I can try more of the Gadds Ramsgate beers for you in the future. It's cool, of course, to try one of your your fellow beer tubers, local beers as well, and local breweries, and they've certainly done a good job with this. So I hope they do keep experimenting with these bigger beers, because they've kind of shown they really can do a good job with them. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you have tried this beer, let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. Make sure you check out all my usual social media and that kind of thing. Make sure you check out Peter's reviews and Craig's reviews as well. As I said, the links to their channels are in the description below. But until the next time, Slange just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Imperial Russian Stout from the Gadds Ramsgate Brewery, Craig over at Kent Beer Reviews, a local brewery. A huge thank you to him for making this beer review possible, and I will see you guys on the next one. Slange just now.